When the soul has the out-of-body experience, where it can look down or back and view its physical body, and then explore in the physical or astral realms of consciousness, it is functioning from the second dimension of self, called etheric substance. When the soul functions on this level, there is usually strong sexual energy flowing. It often works to facilitate the separation of the etheric substance body and all dimensions of self above it into a flow or pattern whereby the self experiences itself separated from self. Even though the self experiences itself to be in movement or out of body, it is actually functioning in higher vibratory levels within the physical body. I say within because in reality there is only within. In fact, life is not spatial, but dimensional. In reality, there is neither time nor space. All that is perceived to be without is not of the real universe. But I will use terms indicating movement because this is how souls in the physical realm experience and can conceive of this energy pattern. From this base, most of the soul's exploration is in the astral level. Often it will encounter strong energies of a lower vibration. In many cases, these are aspects of the self. In some cases, they are encounters with beings locked into the etheric substance or astral level, which is a lower vibration of earth consciousness and closely associated with the energies of the earth. In this second dimension of self, the experiences are more vivid and real from the standpoint of being more closely tied to the earth energies, and therefore more related to the consciousness of the soul having the experience. Often this dimensional state is associated with exploration of the physical level on the earth plane itself. Many souls will be attracted to loved ones or to places where they have existed in past lives, just to get re-energized, to check in, so to speak. In this dimension of travel, the soul is often recognized when it is out prowling around. The physical beings that recognize these souls perceive them as ghosts or apparitions. The next level of separation is the third dimension of self, which is the emotional level. Souls that separate at this level leave both their physical and etheric bodies behind. Therefore, they are a finer substance and usually are traveling on emotional thought forms. In this dimension, physical experiences are not as vivid, but the emotional levels are stimulated. Thus, when a person has a strong third-dimensional experience, the emotions of the experience are often much more prevalent than the visual images. Here the soul will come into contact with many with whom it has been strongly tied through many energy levels of lifetimes. Such souls will also experience direct confrontations or meetings with loved ones. In this emotional level, one often has powerful experiences of reliving strong energies from a past lifetime upon the earth, that is, from a thought form embedded in this emotional body. These experiences will be so vivid in the emotional level that the soul knows that it has been there, wherever there might be. However, there is usually outside the time bonds of the earth level. Remember that when the soul separates from self at the third level, it takes with it all the selves beyond that, leaving the physical and etheric body in quiet relaxation. The energy tie is always there, but the first two dimensions of the self are not actively functioning. Let me say here that there is always the fear that a wandering soul will take over the physical body when the higher aspects of the self are wandering through other levels. The greatest possibility of this is when the soul goes out from Dimension 2 and leaves the physical body in isolation. There are no other levels than the physical there to provide protection, and the body is more susceptible to invasion. Thus, for those aware of this type of second-dimensional travel, it is important to call in all known energies for protection. This could be an affirmation of protection, are the calling in of a soul or spirit guide to watch over the body. It is also possible to put strong energy barriers around the body to keep out foreign energy levels. There are many souls that are dead, so to speak, that are still attached to the lower physical realm and seek shelter in any pattern that has any type of opening for entry. There is more protection when the soul travels out at Dimension 3 because its etheric body is left behind with the physical. This automatically leaves a stronger energy force in the energy systems that are isolated from the other levels of the self. When the soul separates at level 4, the mental level, or the fourth dimension of self, it is separating at a higher level of its vibration, leaving the emotional, etheric, and physical in isolation with the self. Traveling at the mental level is an experience of complete separation from the physical self. At this level, the self experiences many energy systems beyond itself. It travels in timeless dimensions because it is based in the higher levels of the timeless self. There are no barriers. I might say that in Dimension 2 of the strong physical and etheric levels, there is often much fear involved, mainly because fear is characteristic of these levels of vibration. It is often difficult for souls to get beyond this fear barrier, which usually falls back into its bodily dimension. But on the emotional and mental levels, there is no lasting fear. Fear is sometimes felt when the soul begins the experience because it is traveling through some of the fear levels of the emotional self. Once these are overcome, the self is free to explore many areas of timeless reality. Often the experiences do not seem as vivid, but rather more distant. They feel distant and less distinct because they come from higher levels of the self, levels that are not often encountered in everyday existence. Usually it is difficult to bring these experiences back into everyday reality, and sometimes they fade away just as a dream would when the consciousness level of the soul changes. However, the individual who travels frequently in its fourth dimension of mental perception can practice techniques for remembering. It is important for one to program the self to bring these experiences back into normal consciousness whenever desired. In this level, there is very little possibility of invasion by lower energy forces because 3 of the energy bodies are integrated and left behind. Therefore, there is much more protection in this state of consciousness. But it is still important to use an affirmation or energy protection. Those adept at this level of travel are functioning more fully in the timeless dimensions. It is not to say that they can't have the 2- and 3-dimensional experiences. They can if they choose, but they find more freedom in this state. It is like leaving some of the unneeded baggage behind for a less burdensome trip. Travel in the 5th dimension of self, or the spiritual dimension, is rare from the earth perspective because of the physical ties of the self to the earth level. This level gives the explanation for bilocation, or being seen in 2 places at once. The self has control of all the bodily dimensions below the 5th level and can be in more than one place at once. Very highly evolved souls have worked freely in this dimension. As I said earlier, they can take their physical bodies in and out of the physical realm of existence, if they so desire. The laws of the higher vibrations override the lower physical laws. The 5th level is the highest level of vibration from earth standards. This is how Jesus the Christ, the highest vibratory being who lived on earth, could appear and disappear at will before and even after he was crucified. His body disappeared from the tomb because his 5th dimensional self was in control. He functioned from his highest vibratory level. I want to say here that the 5 dimensions of the self that we refer to are dimensions of the self related to the earth consciousness. There are other levels that we will not go into because they are not related to the earth consciousness and would not be understood in earth terms.